Hello and welcome to World Talks on TVP World with me, Ashim Kumar. The situation in Romania has calmed down after yesterday's protests in Bucharest. The Romanian court has upheld the decision to bar far-right candidate Călin Georgescu from running in presidential elections. Georgescu won the cancelled first round of the vote in November. Meanwhile, another leader of a right-wing populist party in Romania could face criminal investigation after calling for members of the country's election office to be skinned in public. Although no name has been made public, it is assumed that George Simion, the leader of the Alliance for the Union of Romanians, the largest of parties, is the target of the prosecutors. Well, what next for Romania's political scene? Well, to explore these topics, we welcome Cristian Preda, Professor of Political Science at the University of Bucharest and former member of the European Parliament, previously a presidential advisor and spokesman on foreign affairs. Professor, welcome to TVP World and thank you for taking the time.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure.
Good to see you, sir. So, the protests against the ban of Georgescu actually standing for election ever again. Talk us through what's behind the protests and behind the ban.
You know, there is a part of the Romanian electorate with Georgescu. This is very clear. As you said, he won the first round in November 24 with 20% of the votes. It means something like 10% of the total electorate of Romania. And in December, the Constitutional Court decided to cancel the election because of the fraud, a massive electoral fraud.
Was this fraud or Russian interference, or are you equating the two?
Yeah, it was fraud supported by the Russians, and this is the huge problem. It was not an interference, rhetorical interference. It was hidden intervention in the in the TikTok and other social media supporting Mr. Georgescu and disadvantaging, marginalizing the other candidates. So it was a huge fraud, and now we see that the Russian, Peskov, the spokesperson, Dmitry Medvedev, the former president and former prime minister, they said openly they support Călin Georgescu. And this is, incredible, because, you know, Georgescu, he's an admirer of Marshal Antonescu, a direct participant to the Holocaust, and an enemy for the Soviet Union in the 40s. And, you know, we have a law in Romania banning all positive reference to Marshal Antonescu because he's a killer. He's a direct participant to the Holocaust. When I see Elon Musk or Dmitry Medvedev saying that Georgescu is, their friend, I'm shocked because, the participation to the Holocaust, it was a serious crime. And now we cannot say any positive thing about this period. This is not a freedom of speech. This is a clear limit.
Understood, Professor. Before we get into that, I just want to go back a little bit. Are you suggesting then that Georgescu's win in November, the elections were actually, the vote numbers were wrong? Or are you suggesting that Russian influence in terms of TikTok, social media, encouraged more people to vote for Georgescu than would have otherwise.
Yeah, it was a manipulation, a technical manipulation, and the effect was the fact that someone with 5% notoriety at the beginning of the campaign became the first candidate. I repeat, before the electoral campaign, only 5% of the Romanians knew the name of Mr. Georgescu. And nobody announced that. The polls gave to him something like 3%. And the night of the election, when we saw the exit poll, everybody asked, but who is Georgescu? I mean, I never heard this name. So it was a clear coup prepared by Russians. And now we see that behind this coup, there was also a military preparation for a coup. And recently, a few days ago, the military attaché of the Russian embassy in Bucharest, he was expelled from Romania because he was in contact with a team of Georgescu preparing a military coup. So this is very serious. You know, this is not about the freedom to participate in a poll. This is the blockade of a military coup supported by Russia and using the elections.
Understood.
You know?
So a combination of both political and military pressure by Russia. Why? Is the first question.
Because why? This is very easy. Because Mr. Georgescu asked to participate to the division of Ukraine. He asked directly that the north of Bukovina became Romanian and the part of Transcarpathia come to Romania. So he is on the line defined by Kremlin when they say that it's it's natural, it's this is natural to have a division of Ukraine and to give something to Romania, something to Poland, something to some territory to Hungary, and the rest to become Russian.
So it's actually part of a bigger picture. It's part of a bigger picture to actually divide Ukraine up between its surrounding countries, which of course does conflict with what.
And Georgescu is on this line. I mean, he said clearly, Romania has to win some new territories from Ukraine. So this is why the Kremlin is interested to support the guy. Because if he was elected, Romania will declare war to Ukraine. This is simply like that.
Understood, Professor. Now, I want to talk about NATO in just a second. But before we get there, public perception of Georgescu. I mean, is there general public support for him or not?
No. He lost a lot of support because Romanians discovered these links, for example, to Russia. And as in Poland, in Romania, there is a strong anti-Russian feeling, So he was more fragile than in November. This is not true. He had 40% in the polls. They declared that, but nobody saw such a poll.
Understood.
So he was not the most powerful. The most important candidate now.
Professor, I'm sorry I have to interrupt you. We have only got a couple of minutes left, but I want to get to NATO. Are you suggesting then that the Romanian public in general is in support of Romania's continued membership of NATO, because it is, of course, where it's geographically situated is crucial for NATO?
Of course, 90% of the Romanians want to stay in NATO. I mean, we are not crazy. We know that the alliance is our, a part of our identity, and we fought to become a member of NATO, and we are happy with this situation, and we hope that the European dimension of NATO will be stronger tomorrow. and we hope that we'll find a way to cooperate with the Americans. And Georgescu was the opposition to this very strong support for NATO. And similarly, when it comes to EU, 90% of the Romanians are now stimulated to support our presence, our membership in the EU. So we are not crazy.
Understood. Now, Romania is actually not meeting the 2% NATO minimum spend on defence, 2% of GDP. What are the plans for pushing that up?
There is a plan to go to 2.5% and to consolidate that in the next years. So I think there is an agreement between the pro-European parties. I mean, the parties affiliated to EPP, to the S&D group, and to Renew Europe. The opposition, the far-right opposition, I mean the Alliance for the Unity of Romanians, SOS Romania, the Party of Young People, they are against that. But there is a strong majority, something like 62% in the parliament supporting the increasing of military budget, because we know that we need such a protection, and we are supposed to cooperate with the other member states. I mean, Georgescu, he's on the position expressed by Fico or by Orban Victor, but this is not the case of a large majority in the Romanian parliament. So
Understood.
This is very clear. Will support the two sides of our membership to the Western politics.
So greater engagement by Romania in both NATO and the European Union. Professor Preda, thank you very much indeed for sharing your analysis with our audience. Have a good day, sir.
Thanks.
That's all from us on TVP World Talks. Goodbye.